Hey guys, Josh here. Our latest interview is with Beck's guitar player Marc Walloch following a live class we did on Beck's tune The Golden Age. Here Marc and I discuss how he got the gig, guitar influences, and how Beck enjoys a last-minute setlist change. You can view the full broadcast guitar lesson on the tune Golden Age in the description below, and enjoy the interview. Marc, good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
Thanks for
Hello,
taking.
Scott. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Thanks for taking the time to stop by. We'll jump right in. First of all, I'm glad I was able to show you some things about how to play this Beck song.
I like the capo setting. That's inspiring.
JK. When you got the call and I was digging through Beck's albums, he has a lot of them. How in the world did you get that much material in your brain? How did you organize all those songs?
Oh man, it's complete chaos with him. I don't know if he's always worked this way, but he doesn't really like give you much information, and he kind of likes to be a little spontaneous because I'm sure he's been doing it for so long that he wants to feel like, inspired and not stagnant. So part of that is him just playing songs of whatever he feels in the moment. And the problem with that is, yes, there's like 14 albums, and without knowing what to focus on, you kind of just have to learn it all because you never know what he's going to call out. I just got to work now. I looked at recent YouTube videos of like recent sets that they've done just to kind of see if there was consistencies, and then tackle those first, and then kind of just start going backwards through almost everything. And also just learning different voicings and different, maybe I should learn mandolin and ukulele on these songs. You never know. And I don't want to be the only guy to say, oh, I can't do it. You know?
Totally. And since you're in this music school right now, were you thinking like numbers? Are you like minor two, that kind of thing? Everyone kind of has their own way of learning and memorizing songs. How do you do it?
For me, it's mostly just arrangement is the biggest thing. Cause I mean, the theory and the songs aren't terribly difficult. It's like, like I grew up on the Beatles. So, and if we're playing rock music or pop music, luckily I'm pretty well versed with, the theory behind intricate pop music from my Beatles upbringing.
Right.
So I think once I zip through just learning the songs, it's more focusing on just like remembering the arrangement and how they're doing it. And also, again, there's no information like who's playing what guitar part. I don't want to jump on toes. I want to make sure that we're, orchestrating and arranging even the guitars so that it's a big sound and not just one mush mesh, the same thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. A lot of it's just honestly just like trying to memorize the arrangement.
Very cool. And you mentioned kind of like your early days, which was one of my questions. When did you get started on the guitar, and like who were some early heroes of yours that got you to want to pick it up?
I started when I was like 9 or 10. And the biggest thing that was inspiring me at that time was what was going on in the 90s, like just alternative bands, like alternative rock bands, like the Smashing Pumpkins and, Nirvana. And I started to go backwards into like Motown and Beatles and a lot of blues, like just Hendrix. I got to a Stevie Ray Vaughan phase when I was younger. And then as you get older, I just kept going farther and farther back to make sense of the people that initially got me into playing, so the three King, like Albert King, BB King, then I'd go back to John Lee Hooker and things like that. And yeah, same
Very
thing with
cool.
songs. Yeah.
And whether it was like a formal setting or not, who's someone that taught you a lot about music? Who did you learn a lot about music from?
Oh man. Uh, I think mostly listening to albums was the biggest thing. I didn't have there's not like a one standout person early on. Um, I think I had like a friend in early on in high school that was really helpful because he was also a really good songwriter and had a lot of great musicality to him. And we bonded over a lot of the same stuff, but I learned a lot from him. And I kind of became like a guitar player for singer songwriters when I was like a teenager. So I just learned a lot from all those cats I would play with, and still to this day, like I'm lucky enough to play for a lot of different kind of artists. So I'm trying to just take the experience and be like a fly on the wall and seeing how everyone's process is different and try to soak up as much as I can with everyone I'm with.
Nice. Take us back to that audition. What was the audition process for Beck?
I had a mutual friend when I first moved to LA. It was a friend that helped out a band that I knew in town, and I just kind of kept in touch with her, and we ran into each other at a show. I always tell friends, like, even if something doesn't seem like it's a big payoff, if it seems like it's fun, uh, do it for the joy of playing, but also in your back pocket, it might be like an investment where you never know who you run into that night. And I did a gig that, wasn't like a big paying thing or wasn't a big deal. It was just kind of fun with some friends. And I ran into this mutual friend that was working with Beck at the time. And she had like this light bulb moment where like, she's like, oh, Mark. Like we ran into each other. And you could tell that she's been thinking of a guitar player for Beck, but like just forgot about me. But that's why it's good to kind of like put yourself out there and remind people that you exist.
Yeah.
So she kind of like set a meeting up. It was more of like, with someone like Beck, he's a really cool, down to earth guy. But with someone like that, you want to make sure if you can hang with someone. That's kind of the biggest thing. There's plenty of great musicians around, but can you be in a room and feel comfortable and vulnerable? And like that's huge. So I hung out with him for like an hour at his house, and he played me some of his new songs at the time, and we just kind of chatted, and he felt out a vibe. And then passing that test, I was asked to go play acoustic guitars and sing with him in like the main Sea Change band, like Jason and not Justin. Who else was there? Roger. Yeah, the four of us. We just like, and I kept asking the manager like, what song should I learn? I want to be prepared. And they just kept never getting back to me because Beck intentionally just wants to call things out spontaneously and see if you can hang, and I just tried to learn like everything, and we just ran through like Devil's Haircut. We ran through like, I'm trying to remember, a few other tunes at the time. And just saying, I was just trying to listen to who was singing what harmony and trying to pick one out and just start singing. And he really loved all of us singing together. And before that, I sent in a tape where they asked me to play a few songs of his and just sing on top of it, even in unison, just to like double his voice. And they liked that. So then they called me to do the acoustic jam with them.
Very cool. Yeah, I've heard that about like Bob Dylan, that he'll have his band just kind of like jam. He'll like assign them songs like to just jam on, and then they're like 2 weeks into the tour, they're like, oh, he was like prepping us for like being ready to call out certain vibes and certain things like that.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Because like, as again, they've been doing it this long. These people like Dylan or Beck who've been around for a while, you can tell that they're definitely searching for a way to keep it fresh and get off, still. And he wants a band that can, like, if I feel like playing this song that we've never rehearsed before, I want to make sure that people can hang,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes the lights are going down and the crowd's cheering and you're about to go on stage, and you got your in-ears in, and he's like, oh wait, could we do this in the middle of the set? And I'm like freaking out, like I've never played that song, like I don't know what's gonna happen. So it's just like, I love gigs like that after being, glued to like a set and a light show and production. And it's nice. I like people who are raw and pushed. He likes to be pushed to like the edge where something interesting might happen, and going to a show, that's all I want to see anyway. So I get it,
That's awesome.
He would say, leave room for the spirit. Like, you'd always say something like just, rehearse, but leave a little room for, some kind of danger to come through or something,
Very cool. What's like the pre-show, paint the picture of like the backstage? Some performers like to like huddle by themselves. Is it like kind of like a party? What's it like backstage, like 10 minutes before you go on?
Yeah, 10 minutes is usually like, you're probably dressed in whatever like the vibe of the tour is, with like wardrobe wise, and there's a jam room. So there's always like a warm up, maybe like at least a half hour before, and he'll come into and just want to get loose. It's kind of like really funky and just funny. It's just like, it's just really light and loose and just joking off, just to like shake the wiggles out and get ready to just like be very loose. He likes it in rehearsals. It's very tense and like every little detail. But then when he's on the road, he wants things like a blues band. He wants it loose and raw and dangerous. So the jam session is what helps,
That's awesome. Since we have a bunch of serious adult musicians, what advice would you give to someone who's I feel like nowadays it's like overwhelming. We have access to every single song and then like every single tutorial and every topic. And I feel like adults like are hyper aware of like everything they don't know. What advice would you give to someone who's paralyzed by how much you could? How do you sit down and just sort of like get started and get creative?
That's a good question. I guess, I mean, it's hard for me to answer that because I'm sure it's different for everybody. I'm sure everybody has a different spark.
Yeah, how do how
I,
do you how do you get in that headspace?
something that's helped for me is like whenever I feel like it's been tough, like the rejuvenation out of that is trying to think back to like the first really exciting times when you were a kid and you really want to get it because that's the purest, I think, example of like our first like time being really drawn to this thing. And sometimes it's just like a song or a band that I haven't listened to since that era, and it does like invigorate me, like excite me. So if you can like just waken up that part of you again, I think that's a really good starting point. And then just listening to something that seems like you can connect with it and find your own voice with it, and then go from there and just try to just play and sing and see what comes out.
Very cool. Yeah, I've seen like Tom Petty an interview where he said like he really has to kind of like police himself. That like people think that you just like wake up and the songs are just where he was like, no, I can. He said he's like I can get pretty distracted by just like day to day stuff. How do you what like gets between you and your guitar that you have to keep an eye on? And do you like keep a schedule? Or do you like wake up and just let it happen? How do you live your musician life when you're not on the road?
Uh, I think the hardest thing, which this is really funny, is that the thing that gets in the way is me actually playing guitar and recording it, but for other usage. Like I do a lot of commercial production and things like that, which is really fun. But it feels like you're practicing and playing, even though it's not really. So when you're done with that all day, you want to break. And then you're like, oh, wait, I spent no time doing the real thing. So I think that's the tricky part. But I think spending like the more like early mornings before getting into any like responsible work stuff is a good time usually for me to like put on a song or go back and be like, I never really learned that solo all the way through when I was younger. Maybe I should go back and try it, or just like the early mornings are the best for me because the day just gets away from me so quickly later on.
Very cool. As we're coming to the hour, let's see what else I got here. One broadcast guitarist did email in a question. Did you play on the tour that Beck did with an orchestra? And if so, what was that like playing with an orchestra?
I wish I can say it. That tour he got kind of the appropriate band that played on those songs originally. And I mean, even like the drummer for a show like that is so important because when you're playing at like Hollywood Bowl with an orchestra, you need someone who has like the right finesse, especially with like cymbals and things like that for rock songs. And Joey Warnaker is the guy for that sound. And that band at that time has a thing together. It really is like the Beck band. So they got together for that, and I was so bummed I wasn't even in town. I missed the show that came through because I was on a different tour. Um, but yeah, I would have loved to, but I wasn't a part of that one.
um, what? Oh yeah, last question. So I feel like everything I do is like work. Someone tells me to check something out. Any albums, artists, or movies that you've been really hooked on recently that we should all go check out?
Um, Someone I was listening to earlier today was Harrison Whitford, who played the guitar for Phoebe Bridges.
Yeah,
Man,
amazing.
solo stuff. It's just I just love. I could really connect to what he's doing sonically with the guitar, and just like finding a very raw, intimate, vulnerable sound that really pulls you in to the song just from the guitar sound. And I've always been drawn to that kind of stuff, and I think he's doing a great job with that. Also, I put on Andreas Capsalis, which I haven't listened to since I was back in Chicago. Great, like Spanish Latin kind of vibe, duo
Yeah.
guitar, unbelievable.
Yeah, he's one of those guys too where like you kind of need to it sounds amazing, then you actually like see what he's doing. You're
Uh,
like
it's
the visual element is like such a big part of the show because he's so
Yeah, I
technical.
thought it was a recording, like a record where they just overdubbed parts, and you're like, oh, this is two guys playing two parts at the same time live. It's unbelievable.
Very
Um,
cool. Yeah.
I haven't watched it in a minute, but I think something that's been on the tip of my tongue or my mind lately is the movie Network. I've just always been really drawn to that movie.
What is that about?
It's kind of it's a guy that works at a news station that just starts to lose his mind, just seeing the hypocrisy and dishonesty in media and how everyone's just walking around aimlessly through their lives, like not really thinking at a deeper level or
Yeah, this
uh,
is like it's like a 70s movie by some famous guy. I can't remember the director's name.
yeah. But I think I'm thinking of that because I've always loved that movie. But I'm tonight I'm actually gonna watch My Dinner with Andre, which I've never seen, but it seems like it touches on similar existential themes, and it made me think of Network. But
Awesome. Super cool. So we got Harrison Whitford, Andreas Kapsalis, and Network. Excellent. And man, we really appreciate you stopping in. Super inspiring to hear all your tales of guitar and on the road. And look forward to catching a live show when you come through town. And I
awesome.
appreciate everybody being here. We'll give you a wave. And I'll see you guys next week and have
Thanks.
yourselves a good weekend.
Yeah, this is really cool. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Thanks, man. See you guys.